Hello, everybody. Welcome back. So, today I think we're going to talk about episode 2 of Strange New Worlds, the Star Trek TV series. This is for season 1. We got it off the 4K. I think this one's going to go a lot smoother because there's not as much background stuff that I need to cover. I also moved my mic over to here because the computer kicks on, the fan, and I think that might have messed with my sound last time. So hopefully it'll be different this time. We'll see. Um, yeah, this second episode is called Children of the Comet. I've also decided that I'm going to rate the episodes at the end. So I'll give them, like something out of 10. 7 out of 10, 9 out of 10, or whatever. Just to get this one started, I'll let you know that the last episode was a 9 out of 10. It was fantastic. The only real problem it had was Pike moping around half the time. So, yeah, 9 out of 10. That was a really excellent episode. All right, so on to Children of the Comet. So, the episode opens up with this desert culture, right? We see these two aliens who live in this desert world. And their whole culture has grown up, I assume, around the desert. If you think of like the Fremen in Dune, I think they're the Fremen. They have their own way of living. Water would be amazing for them, but they've adapted. Their culture is based on living in the desert. It's who they are. Okay? So we meet these desert people, and then they look up in the sky in fear because there's a comet going overhead. After that, we cut to the captain's dinner. So the captain, Pike, has a dinner, I guess, to meet new recruits, all that kind of stuff. I don't know how often it happens, but it's kind of a big deal, especially for the new people on the ship. Uhura gets tricked by Ortega's in order to wear her full dress uniform instead of just dressing casually like everybody else will. It's kind of a joke. And they mention on it that it lines up with their beginner's bingo card, which is something they'll talk about a little bit later in the season. Apparently, new people on the ship are given bingo cards, not by the captain or anything. This is all under the table. They get bingo cards, and they can check off things that they do on the ship that they probably shouldn't be doing, that they could get in trouble for, things that are against the rules, And I guess there's also things where if somebody tricks you into doing something, like apparently wearing your dress uniform to a casual event, she gets to mark it on her bingo card, apparently. So that's pretty fun. Hammer is there at the party. They arrive. Captain does. All these actors are amazing, by the way. I just got to say, really great work from all of them. There's Uhura every once in a while. I don't think the editors are on the same page with the actress because some of her reactions are not given the time that they need to see develop. They just cut to her having the reaction, which makes it look kind of choppy and strange, only for her character, and it's just because of her style as an actress. I'll give you an example of that a little bit later. But they're all amazing. They're all fantastic actors and actresses. So, yeah, Hammer's there. Well, okay, the captain opens the door. He sees the uniform. Mid-line, he realizes what she's wearing, gives a laugh about it. Really excellent take. I mean, it's good. And then they come into the party, and she sees Hammer there for the first time. He is he's Scotty, so he runs the engine for the head of engineering, I guess is the way to put it. Great character, really cool. Apparently he's blind, so his other senses, he uses his other senses to do things. So he's not unable to do things in any way because he's got his other senses, which is great. But they kind of make fun of her, and then she realizes that that's a joke as well. So she gets double whammied by these jokes. Um, and then, of course, the captain goes on to ask her where she wants to be in 10 years, and she explains that her family's died and she's not sure where she wants to be. She's just kind of on the run right now. And everybody's kind of shocked because people work very hard to get into Starfleet. And the fact that she just sort of ran and hid in Starfleet is a very unique thing. Number one, it shows what a complete genius she is, that she didn't even have to think about, well, what if I don't make it? Because she made it um, as one of the top people. But also, um, people who go there want to be there. So it's a unique, weird situation, and I'm kind of glad they did that for her because those are the kinds of backstories that can come up every once in a while without dragging the whole thing down. It's just a moment. It's just a beat in the episode. It doesn't. We don't have to watch her go back to her room and cry about it, and then look at a picture and all the usual tricks that a television show is going to do to stretch out a situation because they've got so much time to fill. And that's not what we're looking for in this show. That's not what I'm looking for in this show. They got plenty of time to do that stuff in other series. So that I don't mind that. Little hints about their past and things, but it just can't drag on. So that was really nice. Pike goes back a little bit to his drama, but it's much better this time because they've already established. So it can kind of be like the Uhura moment, where it's just kind of quick. They get through it. He talks about how he's not afraid for himself with his death. He wants to make sure that he saves the kids, which is great. That's okay. That's a great goal. It's too bad that it doesn't occur to him that he could do that without getting destroyed in the process. It takes number one, Una by the end to explain it to him. And by the way, in the last one, I was mixing up her name because they were both number one. So sorry about that. Yeah. Okay. Luana was the person I was trying to talk about when I was talking about Una. But Una explains to him in the end of the episode that he could do that. He could save them without getting burned up, which is probably true. He has complete control over it. But we'll see what happens. So then they're following this comet. And the comet is, of course, flying over the planet where the desert people live. And something is bad about the comet. Spock's been tracking its progression through the solar system, and Spock realizes it's going to hit the planet and kill everybody on the planet. So they're like, oh man, what are we going to do? So they decide they're just going to move the comet. They're going to shoot it with some missiles, put some small explosions on it. That'll push it a little bit, and it won't get sucked in by the planet's gravity because it'll be moved out of the way. So they go ahead and go with that plan. There's a great moment where the captain gets to say, I love this job, which is kind of funny and nice. It's a great moment. And they launch the missiles, but the missiles hit a force field. The comet is protected by a force field, which is really strange and cool. So you got some sci-fi going on, which is great. And I do just want to say real quick, to me, the best kind of science fiction you can get is a lot of brain and a lot of heart. I really want both. I don't want just pure intellectual. I feel like Isaac Asimov can get that way, So it's not as enjoyable for me. And I don't just want pure heart. I still want to get my mind blown a little bit, you know. Ray Bradbury is probably errs a little on the heart side too much, but he's really my favorite because he's the only one that I've read that can really nail the heart stuff and get some of the brain stuff in there too, which is great. They realize they need to probably go to the comet to figure out what's going on. They do a bunch of scans on it and they find this large structure on the comet, a building. Um, so they decide they need to go to that building. So Pike puts together an away team. He figures they're going to need Uhura because they need someone who can maybe translate alien languages because they have no idea why this building's here, why it's so old, any of that stuff. So they put Uhura on the team, and then also they grab Kirk's brother, right? Sam Kirk. They grab Sam because he, I think, deals with alien cultures. I think that's what he studies. So Pike feels like he'd be a good fit for that as well. And we haven't got to see much of him at all. So it's nice that he's got this moment with Uhura. Um, so they all go together. You've got Spock. You've got Luana, I think is how they pronounce her name, and Sam and Uhura, and they beam down to the surface. They go into the structure, and there's this kind of silly moment. The room they're in is completely empty. It looks like just a giant room in a cave. Except in the center is this huge egg. Now they walk up to it, and there's all these markings on the egg. And, you know, Sam is like, Uhura, what do you think this is? And she's like, it's my first away mission. I don't know that I can handle this. And Sam, you know, kind of says, it's okay. You're the one that's here. This is why you're here. You can do this. Kind of a nice moment, which is good because Sam hasn't had anything yet. And Uhura is just getting started, which is great because she needs to be huge in this. And then Spock says something like, it appears that, or maybe it was Sam, somebody says, it appears that these are suggesting that this egg somehow has some importance in this room, which is the silliest thing I've ever heard because it's the only thing in there. Like, if you walk in there, that's what you're going to be looking at. That's it. So that kind of caught me a little off guard. That was a little bit strange. Oh, sorry. There's a part I do have to talk about before we get to them on the meteorite, on the comet. I mean, they have to get shots before they beam down to the comet, and it's Nurse Chapel giving the shots, and she gives the first one to Uhura, and Uhura says, "Oh man, that really hurt. Why didn't you tell me?" And she says, "Because if I told you, you would know it was going to hurt, and you'd panic and maybe even run." She says, "I've had people run from me rather than take this shot." So then she goes over to Sam. She gives him the shot. He's like, ah. And then she goes to Luana, gives her the shot. She, of course, doesn't even flinch, right? Because she's the one who doesn't care about the pain. And the other two are like, and she says, when you guys are recovered, come with me, right? Which is pretty funny because they're just recovering from their little shot. But then we get Nurse Chapel flirting with Spock. And of course, he has no idea what's going on. And she's being kind of flirted with him, which is really nice. Now, we know he's already got a fiance, but we also know, because of the original series, which comes after this, that he doesn't end up marrying her. He actually nearly ends up killing Captain Kirk in a battle, a ritual battle that he has to go through. And um, um, he and Nurse Chapel sort of have a relationship. Now, they don't go into it much at all. You know, they're keeping that very monster of the week. But every once in a while, you get these little hints about Nurse Chapel and Spock. And it's really fun to see that beginning here. It's a great scene. It's a great scene. The two actors are great together. Really wonderful. Really wonderful work. All right, so sorry. I had to talk about that real quick. So, after the blatantly obvious, this egg might be important, Sam walks up and touches the egg and gets zapped, like his heart stops. Now, my first thought with this was, oh man, they're going to kill Sam in every episode. Like Spock brings him back to life. He just, apparently they can do a shock thing on their uniform and it shocks their heart. And his heart starts beating again, and they're still worried about him. They still want to get him back to the ship. But I for a minute, I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to kill Sam in every episode, just like the episode that he's found in. But that doesn't happen. I think that would be way too silly. It's just weird that his introduction, and I know it's all about Uhura, which is what it needs to be, And also they kind of doubled up. Well, actually, they've tripled up with the mentors. Sam is helping her out a bit, and then Spock is helping her out a little bit, and eventually she ends up working with Hemmer instead of any of those people. Like Hemmer is her go-to person. So I don't know. Weird stuff going on with that, but he got killed, so that was funny. Spock has a great line. He's talking to Uhura, and she says, "Your girlfriend was flirting with you." And after she explains, he says, "Nurse Chapel is not my girlfriend," which is really good. One weird thing about this, so this is Uhura's episode. This is where she gains the confidence to be a part of Starfleet, to have a family there, and to be the only person that can do this type of work for the Enterprise. This is where that happens. But they do this really odd thing where she is kind of angry. I'm not positive how to describe it. She's upset the whole time. Like, because, and I understand that the script is kind of a trap, because the idea of the script is that she doesn't feel like she can do it. She's too new. She shouldn't be caught in this situation. All these people's lives should not depend on her as a brand new person. These are the type of themes that are kind of being discussed, and it puts the actor in this sort of mad place, which I think is really too bad. I wish that the director could have stepped in and talked about her. She can be afraid. It's okay to have a little bit of fear in that situation, but we don't want to see her being angry about it, throwing a fit about it. And I'm going way too far. None of that happens in this episode. It's just this tiny inkling that I see, and it happens over and over and over. And I would have appreciated it if they could have taken a little more time and made sure that she was in a place where she could grow from, not in a place of kind of shutting down because this is just way too much. And that's so nitpicky. I mean, she's an excellent actress. The writers are excellent. The director's excellent. I just wish they would have focused on that a tiny bit, made this truly about her, and we could have seen her truly be a genius and come into her own in this. Yeah, there's one line that's like, between getting us all killed and being a genius, it looks like the genius happened to work out. And she says something like, good time for genius or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of wishy-washy, you know. I hate to say it. It wasn't a great progression for her character. Okay. So they realize, because Uhura constantly hums, and this is a weird thing. We were talking about last time how Uhura did not get the growth that she should have in the original series. She was neglected. Now, the fact that she was even there is incredible. And she is an incredible actress. So she took advantage of every moment she had, which is wonderful. I just feel like she was a tiny bit neglected, especially, and this may be just me, but especially with the singing. She she's played as kind of she's written as kind of a flirty, feminine person, which is a little bit different than everybody else, you know. Um, and we're going way back in time. You know, don't get me wrong. We're talking like, I think like 63 or something. It's incredible what she was able to do on television. I don't want to undercut that. It's just that they're carrying that over a little bit into this. Like if you think of Star Trek Five, the fifth film, where they needed a diversion, so Uhura has to go up on the sand dune with these fans and sing this weird song, and it's it's just it's just weird, you know. It is not the greatest moment, and it's too bad because there should have been a great moment there for her. You know, that's her moment in the film. So I I I'm a little bit worried about them carrying that forward into this series. I'm glad that they've got her as a super genius because there's nothing wrong with wanting to sing. It's okay, you know. She's a good singer. Great. I just hope that they don't go too far with it and end up making that her character instead of what it should be. So that was a little odd to me in this episode. She starts humming, and the room starts reacting to it. So Spock informs her, "Hey, I believe the singing might be part of the pure luck, which is too bad because she's a genius." So, but okay, so a little bit of humming works, and they begin to realize that the markings are probably a code for music. And then um, Luana makes a great point. She says, why would aliens write music the same way we do? And this has always been a little bit of a pet peeve for me. I don't think anybody in the world agrees with this, but it's something for me. So I'm going to say it, even though it's out there, I think. We believe that math is a universal language. We believe that no matter who we meet anywhere in the universe, 1 plus 1 is going to equal 2. To me, that is the same kind of arrogance, I think, like the Earth being the center of the universe, that everything rotated around us, which we firmly believed. You know, I think that's the same thing, and that's Spock's answer. Spock says, "Well, math is universal language, and music is basically derived from math, so." Uh, So I don't know. I couldn't run with that. It doesn't blow my mind to think that a culture would use music to communicate. I'm not I'm not fascinated by that. It's kind of obvious. It's kind of weak. I hate to say it. That is the crux of the whole thing. The music's the key. And they run with it, and it's fine. You know, not everything can blow your mind. And they've got the heart, so I'm okay. You know, but music is the thing. Um, it's cool that she then starts playing with sounds and having Spock play with sounds. And here's kind of an example of what I'm talking about. They're doing chords, which means they technically need. It would be best if they had three notes instead of just two. So it'd be good if they had three singers, so each one could take a note. So they've got Spock, they've got Uhura, and then um, Luana is says, "No, no, I'm out. Don't even look at me because I'd probably just break the thing anyway." And that's kind of what I'm talking about the singing. It's she is the badass, so she doesn't sing. Now, granted, she's physically the badass, right? She's the head of security. She's the one who beats people up. And Uhura does not beat people up, and that's just fine. She doesn't need to beat people up. But it's interesting that they make that separation between badasses don't sing, Uhura does. Um, and I'm sure I'm harping on all of this way too much. It's just it's something that they need to be careful of. You know, try not to go down that same path with her again. So the way they solve that is she just hums the three notes one after another. So she creates the chord by humming the three notes, and then she has Spock hum the three notes behind her. And I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but that guy cannot sing, which is just fine. Maybe the actor can. Maybe he knows how to sing badly. I'm not sure. But he does an amazingly convincing job of not being able to sing, which is cool. Um, and she definitely can sing, which is cool too, right? There's nothing wrong with being able to sing. Um, so those two are going through it, and once she works through a little bit of the code, and she starts going through the notes, the egg opens up. So she solved the problem. What I wish would have happened at this point is I wish they would have walked up to the interior of the egg, they would have seen a control panel, and they would have turned off the shields. You know, she could have looked at it, thought about it for a moment, and said, I think this one's the shield. Then she could have been wrong. She could have accidentally launched a missile at the Enterprise and they all got scared, but it blew up or whatever. And then they find the shields, right? Whatever. I wish that that was the solution. But what they do, and this is just crazy, is they literally say, well, this is great. We've got the egg open, but now how do we lower the shields so that we can get out of here? And she says, I don't know. And then she goes, wait a minute. And she sings this really weird song, and the shields go down. And to me, that is way too. I'm going to start with way too fast. That is that leap with not even an edit. They didn't even cut to another scene where some other people talked and then they came back and she said, okay, let me try this. Right? It wasn't, it was just, I don't know how to do it. I'll try this. And it just works. It was not well done. It was not, I don't know if they had to cut part of the script before they went into filming because there's no edit. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. They're using two cameras. There are edits. I don't know if they cut something. I doubt they did because they have a deleted scene that they literally put on the 4K disc that is from that episode that's about, I don't know, 15 seconds long where they're just panning across, and they're saying, um, the captain says, "Do you see anything weird out there?" And they're like, "No." No, he says, "Do you see anything weird aside from a strange building on a comet?" And they're like, "No." And we're going in, and that's it, right? They literally put that on the disc. So it suggests to me that if Uhura had a speech where she talked about how to break it down or something to make that transition a little smoother, they would have put it in. Not in the episode, but on the disc as a deleted scene. But there's nothing on there, and that to me was just way poorly done. I honestly believe they just wanted an excuse to show off her singing, which is okay. She's got a great voice. The actress has a great voice, and Uhura is supposed to have a great voice, which the other actress had as well. But we don't have to go there. She can be a genius, She doesn't have to be the one that sings. So I was really disappointed in that. So the force field goes down, and then they're all back on the ship. These aliens have shown up who don't want them messing with the comet, so they have to stay away from the comet, or else these zealot monks will attack their ship, and they have a much better ship than the Enterprise. And the monks are explaining to them, this comet goes where it wants. If it wants to blow up the planet, it does it. If it wants to add life to the planet, it does it. That's it. And they're like, but all these people are going to die. We can't just leave it to fate to see what happens. So then Spock comes up with this plan. And the plan is he is going to ride the shuttle and kind of put it on overheat, whatever that is. He's using the shields and the deflector or something or whatever. And I just want to say, I don't mind goofy jargon that's just thrown in to explain a deep concept. But this episode just got a little bit strange for me. I don't mind when they do that, okay? So he throws out some jargon. The shuttle heats up, the outside of the shuttle. What he wants to do, knowing that the comet is basically ice, he wants to fly around the comet with a really hot shuttle so that he melts the ice to the point that a part of the comet breaks off, which will alter the comet's trajectory. Now, there could be pockets of gas inside the comet, and maybe he doesn't have to melt that much ice, and then the gas shoots out, and that it's like a jet that pushes the comet. I don't know. I'm no expert at this kind of stuff. The plan seems a little bit silly, but it's compounded by the fact that Pike says, "We promise we will not touch the comet." And then Spock is zipping around this comet in this shuttle, melting the ice. The aliens, I guess, don't even notice him, which seems insane to me. They found out that there was people on the comet. They knew there were people down there. They don't see this shuttle whipping around, melting it in half. So they apparently don't see it. And then in this weird aside, Pike points out, and can I just add that we are not actually touching it? Like, that's going to somehow save them from being destroyed by these aliens when they find out that Spock split their comet in half, it just goes off the rails. This episode just gets so silly. Another weird part, they have to have, they want to distract the aliens while Spock is melting their comet. So what they do is they fly in front of the comet and then pretend to break down so that the comet is flying right towards them. And he tells the aliens, if that comet hits us, our ship will create such a large explosion that it will destroy your comet. Please come and help us. So the aliens are like, fine, we'll come and help you. So they come over and put a tractor beam on him. Meanwhile, Spock's ripping the comet in half. And they cut to the screen. I don't know why they did this. They stop talking to the aliens. The aliens go away, and then they look up, and now the comet's on the screen. But the comet's not coming towards them. It's a side view. The comet's flying past them, you know, which is one of two things. Either number one, they just weren't thinking about what graphic to use, or number two, the aliens had already moved them, so they're not a distraction because Spock gets going after that, which doesn't make any sense either. I don't know. I don't know. Everything got a little bit crazy here. So then they've had this running joke throughout, I guess. Somebody tries to explain to Spock why people laugh at other people's misfortune. He tells a stupid story where he's chasing an alien and he falls down. And everybody laughs because he fell down. And Spock is like, I've never understood why people laugh like that. And they say, sometimes it's just so bad that you have to laugh. That's their answer to it. So Spock is tearing around this comet, melting things. All these little tiny meteorites or whatever are hitting him. These ice chunks are hitting it, and he's trying to steer. And he's looking all stoic, of course, because he's Vulcan, but he's in trouble. So then it cuts back to the bridge, and they talk for a second, and then they're like, I hope Spock's okay. And we're kind of wondering, did he blow up? You know, he did melt the comet in half. So I guess that somehow he took a part off and now it's moved. And I don't know where the part went, but whatever, it worked. But they're like, but where's Spock? And then all of a sudden, over the intercom, you hear Spock laughing, which to me was like, oh, wow, we didn't need to be worried at all because he is having the time of his life piloting this shuttle through Crazy Town like he's a race car driver, right? That's what popped into my mind. But he then said, they say, Spock, are you all right? And he says, yes. Sometimes it's just so bad that you have to laugh. And I'm like, what? What? Like, they don't talk about the shuttle being harmed. They don't have to beam him out of space. I don't know. The tie-up, it's just weird. And I know it's because, I believe it's because it's the first season. Okay? So all the writers have great craft. They know how to write. They know, bring it up in the beginning, touch on it in the middle, wrap it up in the end, right? That's all they did with that weird gag. Spock learned that lesson. But it doesn't make any sense, you know, at all. So I don't know. I don't know what went wrong with this. This whole thing just got so bizarre. So the comet barely misses the planet. It's so close to the planet that it literally melts part of it into the atmosphere. It leaves this trail as it skims the atmosphere. And that trail turns into rain. And the culture on the planet that is a desert culture like the Fremen, when it starts to rain, they're happy about it. And I guess they should be. I found it a tiny bit strange because Spock literally says it will create more plants. It will create much more water on the planet, and that will probably make their culture develop more. and I'm not positive how I kind of felt about that. You know, there are desert cultures, they are developed. Um, I don't know. That just struck me as a little bit strange. And it's not their fault that the comet put water on the planet. It's just a little bit weird that Spock said that, you know, and you could make the argument that maybe they don't grow their own crops right now because they can't. Maybe they have to be hunters. But once it starts raining a lot, they can learn agriculture, which apparently, I guess, is a step up. Maybe. Um, I don't know. That struck me as a little bit odd. So, all that's good. So now you've got Spock and Uhura walking down the hallway. Um, and this is kind of what I was talking about with Uhura being mad. Um, and this is coming out kind of wrong because I wouldn't mind if Uhura generally was mad. You know, it wouldn't bother me if she had a chip on her shoulder. And it was something that her character could um, slowly lose as she realized that she belonged and that, but the writing isn't there, you know. We're just making excuses for it. So it's only half presented, so it just looks odd. But Spock and Uhura are walking in the hallway, and Spock says, "You know, earlier I was talking to you about the fact that you didn't really want to be here, and how that was kind of weird." And Uhura says something to him, something kind of snappy, and then Spock snaps back at her and says, "I haven't finished." And he stops walking, and she has to stop and turn around and look at him. Like it's this really odd, uh, like anti-chemistry, you know. And Spock then compliments her, and I know that they were probably just trying to set it up. It kind of be like you were setting up a joke. They kind of wanted it to be like, oh no, he's going to get mad at her. He's going to get mad at her. Oh, he's happy with her. You know what I mean? Something weird like that. But that didn't work for me at all. Um, yeah, yeah, just strange choices. And it's just that the editing is so fast as well. Because the minute he says, Starfleet would be very happy to get you, they cut back to Uhura and she says, oh, thank you. With no, she doesn't get a transition. She doesn't get to be like, I thought you were going to, oh man, okay, okay. Thank you very much. You know, she doesn't get to go through anything to get to that moment. She's just at the moment. And for some reason, the other actors and actresses aren't caught like that I've noticed yet. Um, all this is kind of tiny, but this is the kind of stuff that I want to talk about, right? I know I kind of have to go over the plot a little bit so that we just know where we're at within the story. But little moments, these kinds of things are what I really want to dig into with this show, um, as opposed to just the general overall, this happened and I liked it, you know. Um, um, yeah, yeah, that moment felt a little manipulative to me, the way they were building that like some kind of a gag or something. But the episode was okay. To be honest, I give this one a 6. This is not one of my favorites. Mostly it's fear for what it could lead to in the future. Now, obviously, because these are coming so late, we got to see the whole season. And I don't feel like they fell into any of the traps that they were creating in this episode, which is great. I feel like the science is a lot smarter as we progress, or there's less of it, you know, one of the two. One of the two. And they don't fall into the singing thing. And um, yeah, yeah. So I think they did a really good job. I love the show, but this episode for me is a 6. All right. Well, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.